Bernie Sanders recently drew a crowd of over 10,000 people in Madison, Wisconsin, and this scared the Republican Party of Wisconsin, which prompted them to put up this billboard. So don't visit the website on there because I did it for you, so that way we don't give them any additional clicks. But let's look at the actual image that they posted to their website. So I'm going to break these apart one by one. First, looking at Hillary Clinton. Most of the issues that they raise about her are entirely sound. I mean, yeah, she does dodge questions in the press. She shouldn't have had that private email account when she was Secretary of State. And also, it's probably a case that she is engaging in pay-to-play politics. Now, there's one critique that I disagree wholeheartedly with when it comes to Hillary Clinton. So they say that she would go further than Obama in protecting undocumented immigrants. Well, she should. This is a critique that a lot of people don't realize is mostly just spurred by xenophobia and racism. Because if you actually look at Supreme Court cases such as Plyler v. Doe, Yickwo v. Hopkins, Wing Wong v. U.S., well, they state that regardless of citizenship status, individuals within the jurisdiction of the U.S. are afforded all the same constitutional rights as citizens. So this really gives them cognitive dissonance because they don't want to believe that undocumented immigrants actually do have constitutional protections even though they're not citizens. So that point is stupid. Now, when it comes to Bernie Sanders, however, there wasn't a single attack that they did that was actually warranted. So now the first one, they say he's a self-proclaimed democratic socialist. Okay, this confirms that no Republican ever knows what a democratic socialist is. I'll read you the definition. Democratic socialism is a political ideology advocating a democratic political system alongside a socialist economic system, involving a combination of political democracy with social ownership of means of production. This isn't old-school socialism where he wants to overthrow the state. This is social democracy. Germany, Australia, Canada, the UK, these all have major social democratic parties. So the point of scaring people is just stupid when it comes to that. Now also, they say that he suggested a 90% tax rate on some Americans. Why don't you go a little bit further with that statement? Why don't you elaborate on who he wants the 90% tax rate on? He wants it on rich people. And another thing that they leave out is that he's proposing a marginal tax rate. So for instance, if you make, let's say $500,000 per year, anything that you make over $500,000 will be taxed at 90%, whereas anything that you make under $500,000 is taxed at, let's say, 25, 35%. So they're being extremely disingenuous with that particular point. Now, 99 to 99.9% of the country wouldn't be affected by this. So I think that it's really, really scummy and sleazy of them to try to attack him as if they're trying to scare individual people that their taxes are going to be raised, when that's not the case. Okay, so the next attack, they say that Bernie Sanders sent a letter to President Obama that urged him to raise taxes without Congress. Again, they're not giving you the whole story. What Bernie Sanders asked President Obama to do was to close tax loopholes via an executive order because Congress was not acting. So, yeah, it's true that in the event, if Obama did want to raise taxes by executive order, well, of course that would be against the Constitution, but this isn't what's happening. What Bernie Sanders wants Obama to do is close tax loopholes. So if I choose not to pay 50% of my taxes, if the state makes me pay my taxes, is that a tax raise? No, because I'm the one that's breaking the law. So yes, we do need to close tax loopholes, and if an executive order is going to be the way to do that, then there's nothing in the Constitution that's explicitly against that. So finally, they say he called to deep cuts to America's defense budget. Okay, if you look at the actual amount of money that we spend, and then you compare it to the rest of the world right here, you'll see that there's nothing wrong with this position. Over 57% of our discretionary spending is on the military. That's over $700 billion per year. So we can cut defense spending in half and still outspend the next biggest spender in the world, which is China, and we can outspend them by double. So you'd be unreasonable not to want to cut defense, because instead of killing people abroad, instead of letting people in this country die because they don't have health insurance, why don't we actually take that money and spend it on benefiting us, because it is our money. We are paying our tax dollars. So that's just a really dumb point. So if you really want to attack Bernie Sanders, the Republican Party of Wisconsin, all you guys, Well, you're going to have to try again because you failed. You can't find nothing on him, can you? It's because he's reasonable and the American people love his policies. So, one last thing. Now, they refer to Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton as the candidates of yesterday. Now, you can say that that's true when it comes to Hillary Clinton because she is part of the establishment, so she is going to continue to perpetuate the American corporateocracy that we have. But it's just weird that they're applying this to Bernie Sanders because, yes, banning marriage equality and increasing defense spending and giving tax breaks to corporations, that's a new innovative idea, which is what your party wants to do, right? But when it comes to actually helping the American people, what an extremist! He's just so far left, he's a Looney Tune, right? Wrong. Sorry, but the American people disagree with you and they agree with Bernie Sanders.